Hi, thanks for joining us this evening. I'm UND's President, Andy Armacost, and as we get ready for this nice respite coming up over spring break, we wanted to pull everyone together to answer any questions that you have and to give updates on what we think are important goings on campus and across the state. And speaking of across the state, let me offer my thanks to all of the student leaders who have represented the university and the student body and all the students from around the state at the ongoing legislative session that's happening out in Bismarck. And their voices have been instrumental to make sure that UND and the student body gets the funding and the resources that they need to be successful. A couple quick notes on the pandemic. I'm sure there'll be some questions here during the session, but if you're a student and even if you're a parent or a family member or a staff member, faculty member, if you're going away for a spring break, test before you leave and test when you return. You can get those great Binax tests, which they swab both nostrils, and within 15 minutes you have the results. It's fast and easy, and we encourage all of you to test frequently and take care of you and others. And then also get vaccinated. So North Dakota is moving quickly through the prioritization list, and when your time comes up, make sure you go get it. It's easy, and it's important for public health to make sure that we all are vaccinated. And I'm sure there'll be more items regarding that during the question and answer session. And just so you know, our plan for the fall semester is to return to normal operations. As you come to campus, I know when you make that choice, you certainly hope for the great human interaction that is emblematic of a UND education, the great education that we offer here. So again, the plan is to open up with normal or close to normal operations in the fall semester. And then for commencement, you've heard from me on this before, and I might as well address it up front, but we continue to play it safe and offering ceremonies virtually with the opportunity to honor each student face-to-face before the day of the ceremony. So this is a couple weeks in advance. I'll have a chance to meet with all of you and celebrate your accomplishment. I know this is not what's normally done, but given the pandemic, given yesterday's CDC guidelines and the uncertainty of what's happening with the variants, this still remains the prudent option. And by August, we'll be in a much better place, both locally and nationally. And we welcome all graduates, their families, their friends, to return back to Grand Forks for an in-person commencement ceremony in August. And just so you know, several programs on campus have historically operated differently. They offer their own commencement ceremonies. And so this year, the School of Medicine and Health Sciences, as well as the School of Law, will hold student-only events for their limited number of graduates with family members and friends joining remotely in those cases. And then finally, in honor of Women's History Month and also to tie it to commencement, let me recognize our first graduating class of 6 women and 2 men. And most notably, Dr. Cora Smith King was the first woman who was part of that graduating class. She was the first woman to receive a medical license in the state of North Dakota and was a fierce advocate for women. So congratulations to those 8 who graduated a long time ago, and just thought we'd tie that into Women's History Month as well. Let me thank you all for attending tonight, for the panel that you will see on the screen, and to Dr. Cassie Gerhardt, our Associate Vice President for Student Affairs. Please welcome her. Thanks for moderating tonight's session.
Thanks, President Armacost. As a reminder for folks who have joined us for previous town halls, we are recording tonight's session, and in the upcoming future, we will post this event to our COVID website. So if you want to refer to it later, I also will ask my colleagues as you answer a question, if you could please introduce yourself with name and title to help provide perspective to people, that would be appreciated. And audience members, as you have already started doing, if you have questions you would like to have answered tonight, please feel free to add those to the Q&A feature, and some of my colleagues, if they are very individual and specific, may answer those in the chat, and others we will add them to the queue to answer in the live format. So to get us started, we know there's a few questions that have been out there as we've received them from parents and students, and so we're going to start with some of the more frequently asked questions. And President Armacost, I am going to tip this first one to you. Lots of questions lately about wearing masks and plans to wear masks in the fall and plans to wear masks starting tomorrow in light of changes in county mandates. Could you address mask wearing for the remainder of the spring semester as well as thoughts for the fall semester?
Right, so the guidelines for masks will remain the same on campus for the spring semester. Keep in mind that we had put that same requirement in place well before the Grand Forks County had issued their mask mandate. And now that it's off, we're going to continue with what we think is safe and prudent. So we appreciate all the efforts that students, faculty, and staff are actually making to keep masked up. And for the fall semester, right now, we don't know. We'll pay close attention to what's happening with the pandemic. There's a chance that we'll continue masks because the guidance from the CDC and from the State Department of Health might indicate that that's still a prudent measure. But we'll keep you posted on what happens in the fall semester. It's easy. If you're concerned about it taking up much space in your suitcases, don't worry. Put a couple extra masks in there. And when you show up in the fall, if we're going to wear them, you'll be all set. If not, then not. So thank you.
Thanks, President Armacost. Rosie and Dr. Nguyen, questions about vaccinations. Can you please discuss, will students be required to be vaccinated before coming to campus in the fall?
Do you want me to start with that?
Sure, go ahead, Rosie, or Dr. Nguyen. Go ahead, Rosie, sorry.
I think President Armacost maybe answered that earlier today at the noon session, but students will not be required to have the COVID vaccine. They'll be highly encouraged, but it will not be mandated. Anybody have anything to add to that?
I would just double down, triple down, quadruple down, strongly recommended, even though for most students who do not have other conditions, your risk is really pretty low. The important thing is that you also are protecting the community, not only yourself when you get vaccinated. So we strongly urge you to get vaccinated. Obviously, the decision about required or not rests with the president, but we still strongly urge you to do it from a medical standpoint.
Thank you both. A couple other questions related to vaccinations have also been received. So Rosie, Dr. Nguyen, one of the questions is, when will student employees have the opportunity to get vaccinated? And maybe Rosie, along those lines, how will students know when they're able to register for the COVID vaccine?
Okay, I'll jump in here again. Grand Forks County is now in the phase 1C, which includes all university employees as essential employees. Student employees are included in that band. So they should be eligible to call the Ultra COVID hotline or go to the Ultra MyChart and register for a vaccine at this time. The second part of that question was?
How will people know? How will students know?
Okay, if you continually check the UND COVID blog, it has updated phases for where we are. We're moving through the phases in North Dakota. We're the #1 state in the country for administering the vaccines that we've been allocated. So we're moving through whatever vaccine we get is to be administered that same week. And we've been able to be successful at that so far. There's a ton of vaccine coming in. Check the COVID blog on our webpage. Also, we would expect it opening up to the general public a lot faster than we had anticipated. Much faster. So I don't want to make any promises. I think fall is way longer than what we would expect. We'll have it sooner than that.
Dr. Nguyen, I'm going to pose this question for you while we're still on vaccines. Someone has asked, with the new variants spreading throughout the US, does this not change any requirement related to the vaccine? So if you could speak to the vaccines and efficacy in relation to changing variants in the COVID.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Cassie. So first of all, let's understand that this type of virus is so-called RNA virus, mutates as part of what it does. So there's no surprise that various variants are appearing. And yes, there is concern about the variants on at least 3 levels. One that does appear to be true is they may be quite more contagious than the first one. Secondly is maybe they produce more severe disease. And then of course, the third concern that the question relates to is maybe the vaccine won't be as effective. Now, preliminary data suggest that some of the immune response is not as effective with some of the variants as with the original brand, if you will. But from what we've seen so far, it still is adequate enough to ensure good protection. So the pharmaceutical companies are watching this carefully, and it is possible that we may need either a booster or even a new type of vaccine at some point in the future. But the very good news is that the foundation that we have for making these vaccines is very well established now. And even if we needed a booster at some point in the future or a different type of vaccine, it's highly likely that that will be able to be produced in a relatively short period of time. So we're monitoring the situation. It is a cause of some concern, but we think we're going to be okay with the current 3 vaccines that are available in the United States.
Thank you. We're getting some questions about plans for instruction in the coming semesters. And so Dr. Storrs, Dr. Plum, I'm going to kind of parcel these out to the two of you based on semesters. So Dr. Storrs, could you talk about plans for the remainder of the spring semester in terms of instruction following spring break, including plans related to final exams?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Debbie Storrs, Interim Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. Thanks for joining us tonight. The plans for the spring semester will continue to operate as typical in your current configuration. So if your class is hybrid, it'll continue to be hybrid after spring break. So nothing's going to change for the rest of this semester. Finals this semester will be online or remote only. So that's what's going to happen this semester, Cassie.
Sounds good. Next one, and I think you've seen this question, people are asking questions about plans for the summer semester. So Dr. Storrs, can you or Dr. Plum also speak to plans for the summer semester? And you know, we're coming to fall semester question and after we finish summer semester.
Sure. Yeah, I like to refer to Dr. Wynn's metaphor about sort of red, yellow, green lights, you know, so the spring semester, highly cautious. We've got the mask mandate. We're doing the remote instruction and hybrid, et cetera. So that's how we're operating this semester. The summer, we're easing back into a more normal fall semester. So it's a yellow light period. And so typically in the summer, most of our courses are offered online. We do have some face-to-face courses, so those will be available as well in the summer. But most of our summer typically is offered online. Students generally like to go back to their home community. They work, they hang out with their families. So that's why we offer most of our summer classes online. There will be some on-campus courses, however. And then in the fall, we are going to be returning to a more normal fall campus.
Dr. Plum, there was another question related to fall, and the question is, will there still be an online option in classes for students who are unable to come to campus in the fall? So if you could also just visit about plans related to online instruction.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Plum. I'm the Vice Provost for Student Success. The courses will be varied for the fall. We will have some courses listed as online, some courses listed as hybrid, some courses listed as on campus. We're currently in the process of getting that updated in the student schedule. So if they're looking right now, it might look like everything's still online, but we're in the process of getting all of that updated for students to see in Campus Connection. If they can check back after the 15th, they'll have a better idea of how courses will be delivered. Our hybrid courses for the fall will specifically be available with the professor, the instructor in the classroom, and then students have the option to be in the classroom or remote. So hybrid is an option for those students that want to remain remote, along with the online courses. And of course, students who are in a distance-only program would have their online courses available as well.
Thanks. Shifting gears a little bit, Dr. Hallgren, I'm going to send this one to you. Why does UND continue to not offer intramurals to students? Other schools in the state proceed as normal, but there is very limited offering for UND students. So if you could speak to intramurals.
Sure, thanks. My name is Kara Holgren. I serve as the Vice President for Student Affairs and Diversity here at UND. And there are still a number of options that are available through the Wellness Center. And so I would encourage students to go online as COVID mitigation strategies change. The Wellness Center can update the offerings that they have for people. And so again, those are being reviewed constantly and changing. I know that there was a question not too long ago about the ability to play basketball. And surprisingly, so our director said, well, no, students can play basketball on the courts here. So again, I would encourage you to check out the Wellness Center and see what options are currently available, because I know that they're working really hard to provide those connections for people.
Thank you. Rosie, another question related to vaccines. This one is, if I'm an out-of-state student employee, how would I know if I qualify for a vaccine?
First of all, I apologize for not introducing myself earlier. I'm Rosie Dube, and I'm serving as a director of UND COVID Clinical Response. As far as that question, the guidelines that we have from the North Dakota Health Department include people are eligible for the vaccine if they're North Dakota residents, if they have a relationship with a North Dakota provider, such as people from Minnesota who go to Altru, and also if you're employed in North Dakota. So you are eligible for that vaccine. If you just tell them that you are working in North Dakota, you should be able to receive that vaccine.
Troy, I've got a question for you related to housing. Will students be sharing dorm rooms or residence hall rooms in the fall?
Yeah, our plan, thank you, Cassie. My name is Troy Noldner, Director of Housing and Residence Life. We are planning on moving back to a more traditional assignment process for our residence halls, which would include students having roommates, where we're counting on the fact that things are heading in the right direction, as everybody's talked about here, and vaccines are going to support us, and everybody's ready to go back into that environment. But our plan right now is, and primarily our first year students will see those roommates coming in, and then we'll still have some single room options available for returning and upper class students who still want those type of options available.
Thanks. Dr. Storrs, a question for you in terms of maybe how we've considered some things. And this question is, was there any consideration ever given to allowing students to attend class in person? And I assume that's meant to be regarding the spring semester. So perhaps some of the consideration regarding in-person classes this spring.
Sure, we absolutely did give a lot of consideration. We know that students want to be in the classroom, and so many of the faculty were supported this summer to develop these hybrid courses where they can bring groups of students in a safe number with the appropriate physical distancing. So yes, we absolutely considered that. We also, many of the faculty are giving students the option if they want to remote in. Many students surprisingly have taken that option, preferring to remote into the class rather than physically come in when they have the opportunity. So both students are making some choices and faculty are trying to be as flexible as possible. We know the in-person instruction works better for some students, and we're really trying hard to accommodate that.
Thank you. Rosie, this one might require you to get out your magic ball or globe. Do you know what percentage of faculty will be receiving the COVID vaccine?
I do not know that, and we would not be asking that question. As Dr. Wynn said, we would double, triple, quadruple encourage faculty and staff and students to receive the vaccine. However, that is a personal choice, and I'll borrow a comment made from my colleague Jess Doty at the noon session. We need to be respectful of everybody's own choices and not bully anybody into getting the vaccine. We educate them, we encourage them, we remove barriers, and we hope that people will accept the vaccine. But we really are not to retaliate against anybody who chooses not to. It is a very personal decision, and we hope that you choose to be vaccinated, but there is no requirement to turn in or tell your supervisor whether or not you were vaccinated.
Thanks, Rosie. Dr. Hallgren, question for you. Is the Wellness Center fully open? Do you still need an appointment to be able to utilize the Wellness Center?
So Cassie, thanks for that question. I just included some information in the chat along with the link to the Wellness Center. You still need to have an appointment to use the Wellness Center, but it does have the information about intramurals in that link. So by all means, there's information available there.
Great, thanks. All right, shifting gears, Kara, one of my most exciting topics, the Memorial Unions. So we've got a question not related to COVID. So for people who don't know, that MU is my favorite spot on campus. So Kara, when will the MU be finished and open to students?
So we anticipate that people will start moving into the MU probably in the July timeframe. And again, we're still kind of working out the final details in terms of when it's open to the public, but certainly are looking to have it open for this fall and to welcome students back to campus. All I can tell you is that, for those of us who've had the privilege of being able to walk through it so far, it is absolutely beautiful. And the thing that I think that I am most proud of is Cassie and I and many others worked with really probably as many as 5 different generations of student leaders to get to this place. And when I look at the building and everything that they're doing, I see a reflection of those 5 generations of leaders and everything that they asked for and hoped for and wanted to see as part of this building. And I'm incredibly proud that we have maintained their vision through this process. And I'm just really excited not only to share it with the general community, but also to welcome, our former student leaders back to campus to show them really what their gift means to the university and to the next generations. It's pretty incredible.
I just want to put an asterisk by something Dr. Hallgren said. We work with 5 years of student government leaders, not 5 generations. While we're old, it's not quite that old and have been around. So not quite 5 generations. So 5 years. So
5 years, yes.
We're aged, but I'm just going to qualify that. Thanks, Kara. I agree with everything you said. Troy, a question for you regarding the residence halls. So this person observes that students are not always wearing face coverings in the residence halls. Is there a way to ensure that students make wise choices in this regard?
No, thank you for the question. Mask wearing, as we all know, has been an important part of our ability to remain open on campus here and keep us on campus in the residence halls throughout the year. And so it's an important piece of our overall COVID response. There are times where students are making not always the choices that we would like them to. The best way, if there's an ongoing or persistent situation happening in one of our buildings that you're aware of, is to talk with one of our resident assistants on your floor, in your building, or with your hall staff. We always encourage face-to-face confrontation in a respectful manner if you're comfortable doing so, but we know that that's not always an easy thing to do for our students. And so our staff is there to support you in helping to confront them and help identify those students and help them understand the importance of wearing those face coverings. So keep working with us and we'll keep doing our work. We've been enforcing it all year when we've noticed that there's been issues, and talking and working with those students through our conduct process as needed.
Thanks, Troy. Melanie, President Armacost, a question about the commencement grad walk and photo op options. So if you could discuss maybe some of the preliminary plans for what I believe is the May 1st event for students to be able to have kind of a commencement-like event, but if you could visit a little bit about maybe some initial plans regarding that event.
Yeah, I can take that, President Armacost, if that's all right. So we have an event where all graduates who are eligible to graduate will be sending out invitations. If they haven't already gone out, they will be soon, inviting them to come to the Chester Fritz Auditorium for an opportunity to dress in full regalia for commencement. They'll be able to walk across the stage, and they'll be able to receive their diploma and have a photo op with President Armacost. Those images will be captured on video, and then that will be edited into the virtual commencement that we've seen with the other commencements. So we really believe that it adds a really nice flavor of what people love and enjoy about the in-person commencement, and they'll be able to still be able to have that experience even though it's a virtual event.
Thanks, Melanie. Bill Chaves, I'm going to send this one to you. People are clearly watching winning sports teams at UND these days. And so the question is, why does UND allow 25% capacity for sporting events when other schools such as NDSU are allowing 50%?
Thanks, Cassie. Yeah, my name is Bill Chaves. I'm the Director of Athletics, and thank you for the question. So correct, we've looked at all of our facilities, and we are still manifesting the facilities to be physically distant. So when we sold tickets, we sold those tickets with the thought that you would have 6 feet between patrons. And so at this point, even though you could have more in at this point, Cassie, we're going to continue on with that particular manifest of each of the facilities.
Thanks, Bill. Rosie, Dr. Nguyen, a few more questions and clarification on vaccinations. So either one of you, first question, once vaccinated, is it recommended that people continue to get tested?
So I also forgot to introduce myself at first, despite their suggestion to do it. So I'm Josh Wynn, Vice President for Health Affairs and Dean of the UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences, and a practicing cardiologist. That's a little far from infectious disease, but I'll try to pass muster in any event. So what is now recommended is that once the period of 2 weeks after you've been vaccinated, which is once the immune response becomes pretty robust, it is no longer recommended that you undergo routine surveillance testing. However, if you were to develop symptoms that potentially could be due to COVID, that's a different issue. And their diagnostic testing might be appropriate. You would need to check with your healthcare provider, but for routine surveillance testing, it is not recommended.
I was waiting for Rosie, but given she muted herself again, I'm assuming she thinks Dr. Wynn covered that one. Thanks, Rosie. Another question, Rosie, and maybe you can speak to this one. The question is, how many students, faculty, and staff members actually tested positive for COVID-19 during the spring semester? It does not seem to be as big of an issue on campus anymore. So positivity results or tests.
I apologize for not having the exact number, but you are right. It's much different than it was this fall. As you're probably all aware, our state and our city and our university peaked in November, December to a very dangerous level. And we were extremely concerned at that time. Spring semester has seen a decrease in the number of people testing, and we've seen a decrease in the positivity rate as well. The decreased positivity rate is a good thing. We are not sure about the decrease in testing. We know that there's a certain amount of people that were positive that were in those 90 days of positive that they don't test during that time. At this point, we know that vaccine is affecting our testing rates, which is also a good thing. We are seeing less COVID on campus than we were this fall. So we are reacting accordingly, and I'm very pleased that we're seeing decreased rates.
The two provisos, Cassie and Rosie, that I'd mentioned are number one, that while Rosie is absolutely correct that the number of positive cases and new cases is much lower than it was before, it's not decreasing very rapidly over the last little bit. So it is going down, but it's somewhat plateauing. So there still are cases around. The second thing is related to the prior question is we really don't know what might happen here when the variants get here. You know, there've been a couple of cases, they will increase. And if we get a substantial influx of some of the variants that are more transmissible, we could have a problem. So while I join Rosie in saying things are obviously dramatically better than they were before, please don't let your guard down quite yet, because this could come roaring back. I don't think it will, but I would just urge you to continue to be careful and do the things that are both UND policy, like wearing a mask as appropriate, and also showing personal responsibility by avoiding large gatherings, washing your hands, and so forth.
I might add to Dr. Wynn's comments too, our vigilance needs to stay high. We're looking at spring break. We're looking at NCHC. We're looking at all kinds of state high school tournaments going on, along with the variants that he mentioned. So looking at all those things, our mask mandate was just lifted. We are cautiously optimistic, but we are, the phrase I heard last evening from the state epidemiologist is, we've run a good race, but we are not done. We need to finish the race. So we're not there yet. We're definitely in a better place, but we are not done.
All right, Christy Okerlund, you're sending me questions, and now I'm going to send a question back to you because you're really the best one to answer this one. People are wondering what plans are we working on to welcome students this fall? So plans related to welcome weekend for this fall. If you can speak to that, given this is your wheelhouse.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christy Okerlund, Director of Student Involvement and Parent Programs. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are planning Welcome Weekend 2021, which will take place in August in conjunction with Residence Hall Move-In, to be alive in person. And we're looking at it twofold. One, as we welcome the class of 2024 back for their second year. We know that as you started this past fall, it wasn't quite the same. And so we are planning some special events just for the class of 2024, as well as events for the class of 2025. So all currently being developed as details and schedules and all of the above become available. Just be watching your email and the Welcome Weekend website, but we're very excited about the opportunities that August will bring and look forward to seeing you all there.
Thanks, Christy. Troy, a Residence Hall moving question for you. So what suggestions do you have to avoid two moves? So for students who are planning to stay in the summer, right now they'd move out of their current residence hall into a summer location and then move out and into their fall assignment. Is there a way to avoid some of the moves? If you could speak to that process.
Yeah, sure can. So first of all, thank you for choosing to stay with us through the summer and also into next fall. We're glad you're choosing to remain on campus. Always like to see that. There are a variety of options that are available. The reason why you're having to move, I'm assuming at this point, a student who's in the residence halls, the number of students that we have on campus reduces quite a bit. So we reduced down to basically 2 halls for the summer. This summer, it's going to be West Hall and University Place. And so students who would like to avoid that second move going from summer to summer to fall could choose to use University Place. So that's a 12-month option. You're going to have an option to sign a 12-month or a 9-month contract in that building. You could also recontract to West Hall for next year. So you could move into West and then we could see what we could do about keeping you in your same room heading into West Hall for next fall. The other option is we have a number of apartment options that students aren't always aware of that we manage on campus or part of our campus housing operation. And so those run as 12-month operations. And so once you get settled into that, you can stay in those apartments until you graduate if you would like. So if you'd like more information, visit us at the housing office by calling or emailing or visiting our website at housing.und.edu, and you can find out more information about our housing options.
Troy, I'm going to have you keep your mic live. Another question about summer housing, and this one's specific for students who are only looking for summer housing for 1 to 2 weeks. So if they're taking a shorter summer semester, if you could speak to housing options for that short session.
Yeah, so we've worked on some things with dining to encourage students to use our summer housing options this summer. So the building, like I said, is going to be West Hall. That's going to be our short-term stay location. We're going to have a weekly rate out there. So basically the weekly housing rate, and you will have to have a meal plan as well as part of that because there's no kitchens in the rooms or anything. So in order to have food while you're here, it's about $100 per week. And then I think it's 100, and Orlin can confirm this maybe, or I can look it up here quick, but about $129, $130 per week for dining. So we looked at trying to find some more economical rates this summer, trying to encourage an opportunity for students to live on campus and take advantage of our services. So.
And Troy, the dining plan, if they choose the 14 meals per week, I believe is about $98 a week. So
even better deal then. So
yeah.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Orlin. President Armacost, a question for you. And it comes with a little bit of a precursor. So COVID numbers have been very low since the return to campus in January. The level of distance and restrictions, including graduation with a very low level, seems excessive. Why is the fear still so high? The death toll and serious response to COVID at UND is extremely low.
Well, I wouldn't characterize it as fear, but rather prudence. And as we're receiving information from the CDC, from the State Department of Health, it's important for us to keep the caution flags up, at least until we get through a certain level of vaccinations. The key is getting out and getting the vast majority of our campus. Let me doubly, triply, quadruply urge you to get your vaccinations. And And when we're there, we'll be in a much, much better place. But at this point, we still have a ways to go before we can kind of sound the all clear on COVID. And Rosie and Josh, you might have some additional comments as well.
I will pose next question for them if they don't have other comments. So Rosie, Dr. Nguyen, and perhaps Vice President Shivers, another question. Will UND be looking for new strains of COVID on campus? And what actions will UND take if there are outbreaks of the new strains?
So let me start, and then I'm sure, or Rosie and others may want to have other comments. There is routine surveillance that the North Dakota Department of Health does on samples that are provided to it, looking specifically for the strains. So this is being done routinely. I would parenthetically say that I think this is something that in the future, UND can be of assistance to the state in helping to have even more surveillance in the future. But right now, the Department of Health does it effectively, and is looking for the variants. So that is ongoing as we speak.
Thank you. So Dr. Nguyen, I'm going to send this question to you too, because I think it takes the MD behind your name that none of the rest of us have. So could you talk about the mask mandate in the community and maybe its impact on numbers? So really the question was, isn't it also true that the mask mandate in the community helps decrease the numbers? So maybe just to speak to the impact of a mask mandate.
Yeah, so this has become somewhat politicized, obviously, but the science is clear. That based on any number of studies that have been done, masks clearly help reduce the transmission and the receipt of the virus. So you're protecting yourself and you're protecting others. What has become controversial is the mandate part of it. What's important, as I've emphasized, is behavior. So if people choose to wear the mask, that's the critical thing. How we get there is less important than the behavior. So I routinely wear my mask, actually following UND guidelines, but even when I'm not on campus. Now I'm expected to because I'm a faculty member, but I also do that because I try to be a responsible member of my community. Quite frankly, I don't need the mayor of X town or Y town to tell me what to do. I know what the right thing to do, and the right thing to do is to wear a mask in appropriate settings. Now, when I'm out for a walk with my wife in the country with no one within a mile, I have a mask in my pocket, but I'm not wearing a mask then. But when I have any encounter indoors, I'm wearing a mask. And by the way, because I'm a healthcare provider, I'll be seeing patients on Thursday. I'm fully vaccinated, as is my wife, who's also a physician, and I still wear a mask in all of those situations. So the answer to the question is there's no question that the use of masks has helped reduce the spread of the virus and the number of cases. No question.
Thanks, Dr. Nguyen. Shifting gears completely, Brian Willis, question for you as people are planning calendars. Is there any plans for an aerospace family weekend this April?
I wish I could give that answer as a yes. And forgive, my name is Brian Willis, Director of Safety for UND Aerospace. But the whole weekend is going to be virtual for both students. They're doing a career fair and then also a virtual career speaker series that's going to be on the 15th. And the scholarship award banquet is also going to be a virtual type event. So no official family weekend out at the airport. We'd love to get families in the airplanes, but it's just not going to happen this year.
Sounds good, Brian. So we're going to jump to the fall semester and talk about family weekend for all students. So Christy Okerlund, could you discuss, is there going to be an on-campus family weekend for fall 2021?
Great question. My answer to that would be yes. We don't know exactly what the schedule will look like yet, but there will definitely be opportunities for families to visit campus this fall. So more to come, dates to come, all of the above.
Christy,
So
do we have a weekend held, I thought, for family weekend this fall? Do you have quick access to that? I thought we had picked a weekend already. Sorry, I put Christy on the spot. So
You did. I'm trying to get all the questions to you.
sorry, I know she is.
All good. It is all good.
I know it's,
we do. Just give me 1 second, please.
I know it's a weekend in October, and I believe it's a weekend that we don't have a home football game just because there was some scheduling challenges. And Bill, we worked with our athletics colleagues.
October 8th to the 10th.
There we go.
2021. Thank you for your patience.
My understanding is hopefully plans for home hockey that weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So sorry, Christy, I know you're trying to send me questions, but you were the best one to ask that question.
Good. Yeah, we're excited. So more to come, October 8th to the 10th.
So Bill, question for you. Is UND going to do anything about the ineffective student ticketing process? The website crashes every Monday when tickets go on sale.
It's a good question, Cassie. Obviously, there's probably great demand right now, but let me get back to that particular person after I talk to Heather Reardon and at the Ralph.
Sounds good. So more information to come. We'll assume that one's from a student. We can get some information out. Orlin, Troy, can you just, both of you, there's a question related to housing options for spring break and then dining. So Troy, if you maybe could speak to what housing looks like for spring break, and then when you're done, Orlin, if you could speak to dining during spring break.
Very simple for housing. We're open completely over the spring break. It's included in the rate for the contract with residence halls. Students don't need to do anything different. And so I'll turn it over to Orlin. He can talk about the meal options.
Yeah, I'm Orlin Rosas. I'm the Director of Dining Services. I didn't actually introduce myself last time when I spoke, but Wilkerson Dining Center will be open over spring break. We'll be operating with limited hours simply because there's not enough students on campus to keep the facility open straight through the day, through each day. So to see the operating hours of Wilkerson, I'd encourage you to go ahead and check out the Dining Services website. They are listed there, and that is www.dining.und.edu.
Orlin, another question for you. People are wondering, are there any plans to reopen Wings Cafe at the airport?
You know, reopening the cafe is really going to be contingent upon density on campus. You know, the main reason we closed it down was that there just wasn't enough people utilizing it. There wasn't enough density. So once we're confident that students are back on campus, we'll reopen the cafe.
Sounds good. So I am just looking because Christy's sending me questions, and I've got one more, and I think we've answered this, but maybe Dr. Storrs, Dr. Plum, in a more nuanced way. The question with the statement reads, with the decreased positivity rates on campus and continued disbursement of the vaccine, why did UND choose to remain online this semester when every other school in the state returned to in-person classes?
Yeah, I'll just say that, you know, we offer this semester both online and hybrid. So we offered both options. The hybrid provided some face-to-face instruction for students. So we have offered both of those in the spring. And we did so referring back to President Armacost's notion about just being prudent and being careful. Many of our faculty are at higher risk. Students are at high risk, even though our COVID numbers went down greatly. Again, it's because of all the things that we've mentioned. We just really wanted to be prudent to make sure that until our faculty and staff are vaccinated, we were cautious.
Thanks, Dr. Storrs. A couple more questions about masks in the residence halls. So Troy, Kara, maybe some for you. So one is, so how does wearing a mask work when sharing a residence hall room, which we don't have people sharing residence hall rooms right now. But then another part of that is, has there ever been a thought of removing the mask rule within the residence halls, at least when you're on your own floor? I feel making residents wear masks on their own floor, at least in the Wilkerson complex, is comparable to forcing someone to wear a mask in their own home. So thoughts on masks in our residence halls?
So Troy, if you're okay with it, I'll start on this one. So I think the challenge always is that the challenge is we want to make the residence hall environment as safe for as many people as possible. And what we recognize is that individual students, while they may share a space on a residence hall floor, often have bigger lives that span beyond that residence hall. And so they're meeting with friends or working different places or having different kinds of contacts, which means that when they come back to the residence hall, they may have been exposed to other people who are positive. And so again, part of the continuation of wearing face covering, even in that setting, is back to Dr. Nguyen's comments about, these are the things that we know are effective in terms of mitigating the risk of COVID. That's it. And so believe you me, I've heard it, as I think most of us here have, that people are tired of wearing masks. We get it. The only thing I would say is that, again, as you've heard all of my colleagues say tonight, we know that it's driven by the science. We know that as long as COVID is here, it is a way to help keep people safe and healthy, and really for us as an institution to remain open. And so we appreciate everyone's support and their recognition of this as we continue to move forward.
Thanks, Dr. Hallgren. Troy, a question about maybe initial planning related to move out in May. So for the end of the year move out, will it be similar to COVID back in the spring or the fall when people had to sign up for a time and that was more coordinated? So any initial thoughts on your plans for move out in May?
Definitely. I think it's going to probably be a little bit in between last May and where we would be in a normal year. And so the great thing is that the campus is still open this year, and I'm feeling good that we'll still be open at the end of the spring semester. So we'll have everybody on campus. So we will be asking students to set up a checkout time. We always do that every year. We will work to make sure we're doing that checkout appointment, which is usually an RA meeting with a student in some capacity to verify that the condition of the room is being left in a way that's not going to cause the student any charges or damage charges once they leave. And so, but we'll do that in a way that we're not creating any issues with distancing or physical distancing or other things like that. So we haven't finalized that process yet is really what I would say at this point, but there will be a schedule. You will sign up for a time and there'll be an opportunity to have a staff member work with you on that checkout process. So watch for more information coming up after spring break about the move out process.
Thanks, Troy. Brian, a question regarding aviation. And so the question is the aviation department planning on easing any restrictions? And I assuming that means related to masks and some of the other protocols you have in place. So if you could speak to aviation's processes and plans.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do take it day by day. Just to shout out a number to our organization, we're the number one airport in the nation, March 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So Atlanta, O'Hare, you name it, Grand Forks was right there. And I'm going to put that back onto COVID because what's allowed us to do that is some of the restrictions that we have in place. It's a burden to wear a mask when flying an airplane, sanitizing that airplane, the hand sanitizer stations, the screening form that we all fill out daily at flight operations. But by doing that, that allows us to fly the way we have for not only the past week, but the past 9 weeks. So we have eased some restrictions for those that are out at the airport. You know that the screening table is no longer there. So you don't have to check in physically every day and get your colored dot for the day. We've opened up more access doors, but a lot of the precautionary measures that both Dr. Nguyen and Rosie have talked about, we're going to leave those in place because we are in a high risk scenario when you think of enclosed cockpit. So we'll take it day by day, but for right now, I don't see any easing of the restrictions in the near future.
Thanks, Brian. I'm going to take a little privilege as a moderator to say kudos to Brian and everyone in aerospace for all that they've done to keep our students safe. The protocols they've put in place, we've got testing out there on a daily basis, and Brian and his colleagues and our students for their patience in doing things, just can't say enough. So kudos to Brian and everyone in the School of Aerospace Sciences. You've set the bar pretty high. Another question, Orland, people are getting excited about the student union. Again, no one more than me. In the MU, will dining dollars UCash work at the retail food locations? And maybe just clarify specifically for Starbucks.
I sure will, Cassie. Yes, to answer that question, it's simply put, it's yes, dining dollars UCash will work in all the retail locations in the student union, including Starbucks.
And in case you're wondering before it's the next question, you will also be able to earn stars and remote order to Starbucks. So before you ask that question in the chat, parents, you'll be able to earn stars at the UND Starbucks. So Next question, Troy, a question related to UPlace. So if a student is interested in living in UPlace on a 12-month contract starting this summer, should they register during the fall registration or wait for summer registration? So if you could clarify that.
Yeah, so we have a few processes going on right now. So students who are living on campus currently should participate in our room sign-up process for next year, and that includes students who would like to live in University Place for a 12-month period. You just visit housing.und.edu, or you can go directly to your housing self-service, and there's an application to sign up for room sign-up there. There is also lots of information about the other options that are available, and would be happy to spend time with anybody who needs more information about the housing room sign-up process.
Thanks, Troy. Karen, Troy, I think we've maybe confused people because we've talked about masks now and maybe masks, what they might be in the fall. So just a clarification regarding the fall semester. Will roommates have to wear masks in their room when sharing a residence hall room this fall?
You know, while I don't, again, while we have not talked about this specifically, I have a hard time seeing where that is going to be reasonable. At the same time, I recognize that there may be some students who feel comfortable wearing a mask while they are living with someone else. And so again, we would not discourage that, but I don't see that that will be something that we would mandate, again, if you and your roommate are sharing a space or within a suite with other people.
Thanks. Troy, a question again on how we transition between spring and summer housing. For students who are planning to return home after their last classes in May, but then returning on May 18th for the start of summer classes, when can they move out and then in again? So just how does that work?
So in that situation, this is where it gets a little bit more case by case is where what I would have to say, and what I would encourage is to have your student or to have you contact our office directly. It's predicated on the fact is the room that you need to move into for the summer, when does that become available, and how do we get the list of dominoes falling in the right place? And so, but we're pretty good at making all those dominoes fall correctly. And so give us a call and we'll work through those specifics with you.
Thanks, Troy. Brian, in case you're not seeing it, we got parents who are echoing their thanks to the aerospace department. So just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. Troy, we're going to say we got lots of housing questions. Obviously, we're at that unique time. So this one is because of a co-op working during the fall semester, only spring semester housing is needed. When would that student sign up for what would be spring 22 is what I'm understanding of the question.
Yeah, so we will have a spring application process that occurs. Generally, the application is open after July 1 of the summer prior to the spring. But I would encourage in this situation to contact us because we can work out some things with room sign up to see what we can do to get the application in the system for you for next spring and get you in the queue for any spring housing assignments that we got available. So housing at und.edu and those will be answered directly.
Sounds good. Thanks, Troy. I'm going to do a last call for questions. If I'm looking at the Q&A, I'm seeing that we have used up all of our questions that are there. So maybe one last ask. I will also say during this time, we are planning another town hall for Tuesday, May the 4th. Knowing that, again, things could change, that people might have questions going into the summer and what plans are there. So if you just hold that, that is our tentative plan, is to have another one on May 4th. Again, things might change, but that is what we have got penciled in as the plan to answer questions again that day. And Melanie made me give me the nod. I think that was right. So, okay, good. I've checked calendars. So just gonna double check the Q&A. We'll get that. There's a question that was specific, and Troy, I think you're going to answer it in the chat. So we've got one that's about the UPlace. We'll get a specific answer. And we can, Dr. Nguyen, if you don't mind, someone wants to get your email. If you would mind sharing that, I think they've got a question for you specifically. So if you don't mind sharing your email, if you can. Sorry, sir, go ahead.
How do I do that?
So I assume it's just joshua.nguyen@und.edu.
That's it.
So for those who are wondering, really for all of us, if you take first name, insert period before last name @und.edu, you can get pretty much anybody on this screen. I don't think anybody's got a more unique one. So if you're looking to reach Dr. Nguyen, it is joshua.nguyen, W-Y-N-N-E, @und.edu. And if you run into stuff, many of you get Christy's newsletters and have Christy's email very handy. If you email Christy, she can obviously get you in contact with anybody that's here. So we are nearing the end of our time. Again, don't have any additional questions. And so President Armacost, I think I'm going to send it to you for closing comments, sir.
Great. I have the easy part, which is just to say thanks. Thanks to everybody who signed in tonight to listen, to ask your questions, and to receive the answers. Most importantly, thanks to the members of the team who were here tonight. Their insights and their expertise is just, to me, is astounding. And keep in mind that we've been going for about a year under this pandemic. And so this team has been meeting routinely. At one point, it was at least 5 days a week, sometimes more, and currently close to that. And just really trying to make decisions for two reasons. One, what is in the best interests of our students? And number two, how do we make sure that we keep the campus safe? So this is a balance between offering effective educational programs and just taking the precautions we need to make sure that everybody's minimizing the risk. So this is what this group has been doing for a year. Hopefully, I know more than anyone, this group probably can't wait until vaccines take hold and the workload starts decreasing. But my hat's off to everybody on this Zoom call. So thanks. And everyone, have a great spring break. We'll see you when you get back. If there are students online, and parents, keep the questions coming. Again, you have access to our emails. You can reach out to the right experts on this call anytime. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in.